हरिः ओम् नमः सर्वेभ्यः। अष्टाध्यायी परिचयः इत्यस्य अद्य 36 पाठः। अस्मिन् वर्गे हल् सन्धि प्रकरणे ऋत्वं श्चुत्वं तथा ष्टुत्वं यैः सूत्रैः पाठितम् अस्ति तेषाम् अध्ययनं कुर्मः। शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। येनाक्षरसमाम्नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्। अस्माकं वर्गस्य द्वे प्रयोजने अष्टाध्याय्याः आहत्य 600 सूत्राणां व्याख्यासहितम् उदाहरणसहितं च अध्ययनं तथा च अष्टाध्याय्याः प्रथमाध्यायस्य प्रथमपादस्य द्वितीयपादस्य च कण्ठस्थीकरणम्। ह्यस्तने वर्गे अस्माभिः पदान्ते हल् सन्धौ आगमः कुत्र कुत्र भवति तस्य सूत्राणि दृष्टानि। तत्र कुक् आगमः, टुक् आगमः, धुट् आगमः, तुक् आगमः तथा च ङमुडागमः इति सर्वे आगमाः अस्माभिः अधीताः। अद्य अग्रे गच्छामः। अद्य पाठे अस्माभिः त्रयः विषयाः अध्येतव्याः। हल् सन्धि प्रकरणे ऋत्वम्, so there is a very fundamental concept called ऋत्वम्, and then chutwam and stutwam, which are quite familiar to you all. So we have a bunch of sutras today. There is only one sutram, Nashtadhyayi Prashan, that we are going to deal for the Rutva Prakaranam. Then we have two sutras for the Chutwa Prakaranam. And finally, we have three sutras up till Tohoshi for the Shtutva Prakaranam. So Prarabhamahe. This Rutva Prakaranam is a little bit complex. So please pay close attention. अष्टमाध्याये तृतीयपादस्य प्रारंभे स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम 831 up to 8312. So 12 sutras at the beginning of 8.3. एतेषु सूत्रेषु पदान्तनकारस्य रू इति आदेशः उक्तः अस्ति. So there is a very specific adesha called ru, r followed by anunasika ukara. This is mandated in place of padanta nakara. This is a compulsory adesha, not optional, in a very specific situation. So padanta nakarad anantaram छव वर्णः तदनन्तरं च अम वर्णः इति स्थितिः विद्यते चेत् अत्र नकारस्य रु इति आदेशः उक्तः अस्ति. Now let us step back and remember what is this chav pratyahara. So kha, pha, cha, tha, th, cha, ta, tav. So you have cha, tha, th, cha, ta, and ta. So for the cha varga you have first and second. For the ta varga you have first and second. And for the ta varga you have first and second. So you leave aside the ka varga and you leave aside the pa varga. The middle three vargas, the first two letters are included in the chav pratyahara. That's all, 6 letters together. So there must be a padanta nakara, for example, say bhavan, and then there must be one of these letters of cha, tha, tha, cha, ta, ta. One of these letters must be there, say ta, followed, ta means half ta obviously, followed by there must be an letter immediately after it. Includes all the swaras obviously. So until ach, until ayauch. Then you have ha, ya, va, ra, ta, la, na. So you have all the antasthas and hakara and ya, ma, nga, na, nam. So you have varga panchamas. So all swaras, varga panchamas, antasthas and hakara. If any of the letter appears over there, so essentially any swara can appear. So for example, you can say bhavan tarati, for example, or some vyanjanas are also allowed. So for example, yakara is allowed because it is in the pratyahara. So you can say bhavan tyajati. So specific letters have to be there. There must be a chav letter and immediately after that there must be an letter. If such a configuration matches, then this na undergoes an adesha called ru. So technically, if you go to the sutra list, technically this is the part of this padante hal sandhau adesha. There is a padanta adesha that is happening, but the reason I am actually teaching it as a separate sutram is that there is adesha, there is another adesha, and there is agama. Everything is combined in this prakriya in this particular sutra itself. Therefore, it is being discussed as a separate entity. It is actually an intersection, a combination of Padanta Adesha and Padanta Agama. Both of these concepts are embedded inside Nashchavya Prashan. That's why now I'm teaching it after the Padanta Adesha and Padanta Agama are completely taught. So you have Padanta Nakarasya Chav plus ityasmin pare ru iti adeshah bhavati. What is this section? It is 12 sutras starting from 831 Matvaso ru sambuddhau chandasi all the way up to 8312 Kanam Redite. So these 12 sutras, I think in the very first sutram it will be written over there. This is a Rutva Prakaranam. Sutra Pathe Matuvaso Ityasmat Arabhya Kanam Redite iti avas Dvadasheshu Sutreshu Ru iti Adesha Vidhanam Kriyate. So there is a Padanta Nakara and a few other letters as well. They are converted into Ru. Padanta Nakara is most important. We are going to study only one sutram in that section, that is 837. So though there are 12 sutras, for our course there is only 837. Nashchavya Prashana. That is the only sutram that we are going to talk. In other sutras, some other letters are also converted to the Ru, but our focus is Padanta Nakara getting converted to Ru. So we have Padanta Nakarasya Chav plus ityetasmin pare Ru iti adeshah bhavati. So you have Bhavan Tarati. N becomes Ru because there is a Chav letter called T, followed by there is an letter called A. So Bhavaru Tarati Nashchavya Prashan Ityanena Padanta Nakarasya Ru Adesha Bhavati. Now the complexity starts. What happens is, in this particular section, Matvaso Ru Sambuddhau Chandasi, the Ru Adesha that is told, there are some transformations on that Ru Adesha told in this Adhikara itself in these first three sutras. So Atranunasika Purvasya Tuva, Atoti Nityam, and Anunasikat Paronuswaraha. These three sutras tell us what transformation we should do as soon as that Ru is created from this section. So one point to remember, Ru is created by many sutras in Ashtadhyayi. There is a Sasajusho Ruhu Sutram which converts a Sa to Ru. That's different. The Ru that is specifically created in this section, Padanta Nakarasya yatra Ru Adesha bhavati, no chet अन्येपि केपि वर्णाः सन्ति, येषाम् अस्मिन् प्रकरणे Ru आदेशः उक्तः अस्ति, तस्य Ru आदेशस्य अग्रे परिवर्तनार्थम् एतानि अत्रानुनासिकः पूर्वस्य तु वा आतोटि नित्यम् अनुनासिकात् परोनुस्वारः इत्येतानि सूत्राणि पाठितानि वर्तन्ते. अन्यत्र सूत्रपाठे यत्र कुत्रापि रु इति आदेशः विधीयते तस्य रु इत्यस्य कृते एतेषां सूत्राणां प्रयोगः न करणीयः. केवलम् अत्र पाठितस्य रु आदेशस्य कृते एव अस्य सूत्रस्य एतेषां त्रयाणां सूत्राणां प्रयोगः करणीयः. Now in our course we are not going to officially learn these three sutras. I'm just going to tell you one line meaning of these, and I'm going to use them in that Bhavan plus Tarati Prakriya that we are just starting to learn. So we have Bhavan Tarati, the N becomes Ru, giving Bhavaru Tarati. Etadrishasya Padantanakarasya Ru Adeshe Krute, Ru Ityasmat Purvam Yaha Swaraha. So now you have Bhavaru. Look at the swara before that Ru. Ru Ityasmat Yaha Purvaha Swaraha, Tasya Atranunasikah Purvasya Tuva iti Sutrena Vikalpena Anunasikadesha Bhavati. So look at the sutram. This is the 832. Atra anunasikaha purvasya. So ru ityasmat yaha purva varnaha. Very simple sutram actually. Saha swaraha eva tatra asti. Tasya anunasika deshaha bhavati. Tasya anunasika bhedaha tasya sthane adesha rupena vidhiyate. So bhavaru tarati. Obviously, first of all, you will get rid of the it samnya. So you will say bhava ra tarati, ukarasya upadesha janunasika ityanena itsamya tasya lopaha ityanena lopaha. So bhava ra tarati अस्याम स्थितौ र इत्यस्मात् पूर्वः यः स्वरः इत्युक्ते आकारः तस्य अनुनासिकादेशः विकल्पेन भवति. अत्र अनुनासिकः पूर्वस्य तु वा, पूर्वस्य विकल्पेन भवति. And understand, anunasika is not a separate varna, it is not a separate letter, it is a bheda of that swara. So niranunasika akarasya sthane sanunasikaha akaraha adesha rupena vidhiyate. So it is not like an adesha of k, kh, g where a separate letter is coming. Anunasika is not a separate letter. The ananunasika akarasya sthane sanunasikaha आकारः आदेशरूपेण विधीयते. And this is an optional transformation. Atra anunasikah purvasya tu va. So if you take the second branch where that option is not taken, which means where the anunasika desha does not happen, then in that branch this 834 sutra is executed. It says anunasikat paraha anuswaraha. The sutra is extremely misleading. It's written in a very misleading style. What it says is anunasikad anyatra. Anyatra is a shabda that you have to assume. Anunasikad anyatra means yasmin vikalpe anunasikadeshaha na bhavati. Tasmin vikalpe paraha means tasmadeva swarat paraha. Yasya swarasya anunasikadeshaha na kritaha. तस्माद् एव स्वरात् परः अनुस्वारः विधीयते. So understand, we have bhavaru. In that, after doing itsamya lopa, we have bhavar. In one branch, you will do the anunasika desha. In the other branch, where there is no anunasika desha done, yasmin pakshe anunasika desha na bhavati, tasmin pakshe ru ityasmat purvam eva अनुनासिकात् परोनुस्वारः इत्येन अनुस्वारस्य आगमः भवति. So anuswara is a new varna, it is a separate entity. That entity comes, it is not being replaced, it is not replacing anybody, so it is an agama. And how is the sutram anunasikat paronuswaraha to be read? You have to do an adhyahara of anyatra or anyaha or vihaya, anything that is of the meaning of exclusion. That kind of adhyahara you can do. So I think Kashikakara does an adhyahara of anyatra, Kaumudikara does an adhyahara of vihaya. So anunasikam vihaya, nochet anunasikat anyatra ityukte yasmin vikalpe anunasika deshaha न कृतः अस्ति तस्मिन् विकल्पे तस्मात् एव स्वरात् यस्य अनुनासिकादेशः न जातः तस्मादेव स्वराद परः इत्युक्ते अनन्तरम् अनुस्वारस्य आगमः भवति. So you have bhava tarati. The anunasika of akara was not done. So after that akara, you put an anuswara. So bhavan with an anuswara, ra remains as it is, tarati. So what is happening in this itself entire section? We have one compulsory adesha, nakarasya sthane ru, followed by one optional adesha, the swarasya sthane anunasika swaraha, or an optional agama. So swarad anantaram anuswarasya agamaha. Both of these are not optional, only one is optional, which means you either do anunasika desha or you do the anuswar agama. You cannot say I don't want to do anything. So ekam karyam tu avashyam karaniyameva ekasmin vikalpe anunasikadeshah kartum shakyate tadrisha anunasikadesha na ishyate chet aparasmin vikalpe anuswarasya agamah sambhavati. So you start with bhavan tarati and you come up with two forms, bhavar tarati with an anunasika or bhavam ratarati with an anuswara. This section 831 to 8312 is all about this. But this is not the final form. A chain reaction starts after that. So you have bhavan plus tarati. I'm giving you the prakriya. So once again, to stress how a prakriya should be written. सो भवान् प्लस तरति, तत्र नकारस्य रु इति आदेशः, नश्छव्य प्रशान इति पदान्त नकारस्य रु आदेशः, भवार तरति, उकारस्य इत्संज्ञा लोपः. Usually in the introductory or initial classes, or till you are not 100% comfortable, continue writing the sutras like Upadeshe Ajanunasika Ita followed by Tasya Lopaha. But once you become much more comfortable with the Itsamnya Prakaranam, you can ignore the sutras and you can just say Ukarasya Itsamnya Lopaha. So Bhavar Tarati. Then you have a Vikalpa. अत्रानुनासिकः पूर्वस्य तु वा इति रेफात् पूर्वं विद्यमानस्य वर्णस्य इत्युक्ते स्वरस्य विकल्पेन अनुनासिकादेशः. सो भवार् तरति, अनुनासिक अभाव पक्षे अनुनासिकात् परोनुस्वारः इति अनुस्वारस्य आगमः. भवार् तरति. So looking back at the sutra list, the main sutram that we learned was Naschavya Prashana, and the complementary sutras are Atranunasika Purvasya Tuva and Anunasikat Paronuswaraha. We don't really need to bother with any remaining sutras in this section. Only 3 sutras are our focus. Even over there, only Naschavya Prashana is what we are going to learn word by word. So I am going to completely explain you that sutram with the typical slide that we have for all sutras. For Atraninasika Purvasya Tuva and Anunasikat Paronuswaraha, I have explained you one line meaning. That's good enough for now. We are not going to go in the details of these sutras at the moment. Anyway, so we have Bhavar Tarati or Bhavam Ratarati. In the next step, Ra becomes Visarga. So this is the sandhi that we will learn when we go to the Visarga Sandhi Prakaranam, but this is guaranteed. Ra will become Visarga, and it is not only this particular example. In any example whatsoever, anytime you have Naschavya Prashana followed by Atranunasika Purvasya Tuva or Anuswarat Parunuswaraha, this will always cascade. Kharvasarayor Visarjaniyaha will always come. There will be a Visarga over there. So Ra is getting converted into Visarga. There is no change happening on the Anunasika or the Anuswara. So simply Ra is getting converted into Visarga, which means you get a very weird looking word which has an Anuswara and immediately after that a Visarga. So Bhava Tarati or Bhava Tarati iti tatra Rupam Siddhyati. But again, this is not the final form. You have Visargasya Sakaradeshaha Kriyate. Again, this will always happen. So Visarjaniyasya Saha iti Visargasya Sakaradeshaha. So actually memorize this prakriya. Anytime you start with Naschavya Prashana, this is the exact prakriya that happens. No change. So Bhavan Starati with a Sakara, Visargasya Sakaradeshaha, or Bhavan Starati with a Sakara, Punarekvaram Visargasya Sakaradesha. So somebody was asking in yesterday's class, what happens with Bhavantarati? This is the prakriya, pretty complex actually. You have one adesha followed by an optional adesha or an agama followed by rutva, followed by visarga and sakaradesha, giving 2 forms as Bhavanstarati with an anuswara or Bhavanstarati with anunasika. With this, now let's actually go to the word by word meaning of the sutram. So 837 Naschavya Prashan Ampare Chavi. Ampare Chavi means Adau Chav Varnaha Tadanantaram Am Varnaha. Ampare Chavi. You have to read it in the reverse way. Saha Chav Varnaha Yaha Amparaha Asti. Tukte Yasmad Anantaram Am Varnaha Asti. So Chav Varnaha Tadanantaram Am Varnaha. Ampare Chavi Samhitayam नकारांतस्य पदस्य रू स्यात् न तु प्रशान शब्दस्य. So see Panini's keen eye to the details. There is only one word in Sanskrit called prashan. Prakarshena shantaha is prashan. The one who is extremely calm. That person is called prashan. The prathama ekvachan of this word is prashan. This is a slightly different word. It is not like atman and so on. It is generated using the shama dhatu. There is a complex krudanta prakriya involved. We will not go in the details, but there is a prathama ekvachanam form called prashana. So this nakara, which is at the end of this padam, so prashan tarati ityadishu udaharadishu prashan iti shabdasya vishaye asya sutrasya prayogaha na bhavati. So out of so many millions and billions of words, only one exception, Prashan iti shabdasya vishayasya sutrasya prayogah na bhavati. But we will keep this Prashan aside. We will come to it at the end of the discussion of the remaining part of the sutram. So let's look at the other parts. Naha chavi aprashan. So aprashan is that nishedha. Naha chavi. Naha ityukte nakarasya. Chavi ityukte chav iti varane pare. Ru am pare. These are the anuvrittis. Padasya iti adhikaraha. So naha padasya ampare chhavi ruhu aprashan. Naha padasya is tadanta vidhi. At any moment there is a visheshana vishesha. Don't think about it. There is a tadanta vidhi. So visheshana vishesham asti chet tadanta vidhi. So nakarantasya padasya. That is exactly, I think, the meaning given in Kashika and so on also, right? If you go to 837, they will say nakarantasya padasya. Very clear about this. Nakarantasya padasya. So very, very specific wording is there in the commentary. They don't say padasya ante vidyamanasya nakarasya. They will say nakarantasya padasya because that is the tadanta vidhi. Naha padasya means nakarantasya padasya. Ampare chavi is the paranimittam. Saha chav varnaha yaha यस्मात् अनंतरम अम वर्णः अस्ति. So saha chav varnaha yasmad anantaram av varna asti. As I mentioned, chav is the middle three rows. Varga dvitiya varga, sorry, the dvitiya tritiya chaturtha panktihi tatra varga prathamaha varga dvitiya. So cha tha cha cha tha tha cha ta ta. Is swaraha hakaraha antasthaha varga panchamaha. Pare chava. How is this combination? You have to remember these combinations. So what is ampare chava? It is any of these swara vyanjanas followed by swara. So it can be cha cha chi chi, tha tha ti ti, tha tha ti ti, cha cha chi chi, and so on. So ta, ti, tru, chai, chi. So all these are examples. And then some common combinations you have to remember. So tia is because ta plus anthastha. Tra because ta plus anthastha. Cha because cha plus antastha. There might be other examples, but for example, you don't see varga panchamas connected with ta, ta, cha at the beginning of the word because there is a padanta nakara to the left. So you need a combination which occurs at the beginning of the word. Like for example, tyajati or trata or chiotati and so on. So these are the typical combinations that will occur at the beginning of the word. But if you take any other combination like th plus h or th plus ma or th plus na, very rarely you won't find these at the beginning of the next word. So remember these some of the sanyukta vyanjanari like tya, tra, cha. These are the ones which are examples of this particular swara. And finally, ru iti adeshaha. So nakarantasya padasya ru adeshaha bhavati. So the entire pada gets a ru adesha, and now alontyasya comes in. So alontyasya iti antyadeshaha. So see how these paribhashas operate together. First there is tadanta vidhi and then there is alontyasya. So alontyasya iti antyadeshaha ataha nakarantasya padasya antima varnasya ityukte tasya nakarasya rutvam vidhiyate iti atra antimaha arthaha siddhyati. So padanta nakarasya. So for convenience, I am directly writing padanta nakarasya. However, the official sutrartha will be nakarantasya padasya. Only for explanation, what is actually happening for all practical purposes, padanta nakar. Sorry. पदांत नकारस्य अंपरके छौवर्णे परे तादृशः छौवर्णः यस्मादनन्तरम् अंपरः यस्मादनन्तरम् अम् अस्ति अंपरके छौवर्णे परे रु इति आदेशः भवति प्रशान इति शब्दस्य तु न भवति सो भवां तरति भवारु तरति इति संज्ञालोपे भवार तरति सो हियर नश्चव्य प्रशान सूत्रम एंड्स all that it is saying is nakarasya rutvam bhavati तदनन्तरम् अत्रानुनासिकः पूर्वस्य तु वा तथा च अनुनासिकात् परोनुस्वारः एताभ्याम् एकं सूत्रं प्रवर्तते. So अत्रानुनासिकः पूर्वस्य तु वा, this is the official one line meaning of this sutram. अस्मिन् ऋत्व प्रकरणे अन्यत्र न केवलम् अस्मिन् ऋत्व प्रकरणे. That's why the word अत्र अनुनासिकः पूर्वस्य तु वा अस्मिन् ऋत्व प्रकरणे रु इत्यस्मात् पूर्वस्य स्वरस्य विकल्पेन अनुनासिकादेशः भवति. सो भवार तरति becomes भवार तरति and अनुनासिक आकार comes over there. और अनुनासिकात् परोनुस्वारः अस्मिन् ऋत्व प्रकरणे रु इत्यस्मात् पूर्वस्य स्वरस्य यत्र अनुनासिकादेशः न भवति. So you have to do an adhyahara of anyatra. अनुनासिकाद अन्यत्र तस्मादेव परः इत्युक्ते यः स्वरः अनुनासिकादेशं न प्राप्तवान् तस्मात् परः. सो तस्मात् स्वरात् अनन्तरम् अनुस्वारस्य आगमः भवति. So bhavar tarati becomes bhavar tarati with a dot with an anuswara. Agre rephasya visargah bhavati tasya sakaradesha bhavati bhavans tarati or bhavans tarati iti rupadvayam siddhyati. Some other example, bhavan plus chinoti, bhavansh chinoti. See now what is happening? You are getting a ru followed by r followed by anunasika or anuswara, visarga, sattva, and you are going to have bhavans, bhavasatarati. So bhava with an anuswara. Let's go to the previous slide. Sorry. So you are going to have a construct like bhavar followed by chinoti. So bhavara, there will be an anuswara chinoti. Then there will be the visarga sakaradesha. So bhavans chinoti, and then chutwa happens, which we are going to learn immediately after this. So anunasika or anuswara followed by visarga followed by sattva followed by chutva bhavans chinoti. So there is no direct shakaradesha, there is no direct sakaradesha, there is no direct visarga. It all starts with ru, then there is anunasika or anuswara, then ru becomes visarga, visarga becomes sakara, sakara becomes shakara. Because of that chakara, this is the chutwa that is in the next last step happening over here. Similarly, bhavan tikate. Now stutwa will happen in the last step. So anunasika or anuswara, visarga, sattva, stutva, bhavan shtikate or bhavan shtikate. Doshan tyaktva. Now there is only ta over there, so no shtutva or shtutva is going to happen. But I took this example to show tya. So use of a vyanjana plus vyanjana, sanyukta vyanjana, sanyoga over there. So doshan plus tyaktva, doshan tyaktva, not just doshan tyaktva. Doshan tyaktva is wrong. Doshan tyaktva. This sandhi is compulsory. Anunasikadesha or anuswaragama, that step is optional. You can choose one of them, but the rest of the prakriya is compulsory. So doshans tyaktva with anunasika or anuswara. Kasmin plus chita, kasmin chita, either with anunasika or with anuswara. Now obviously the forms with anunasika are not that prevalent, but you can use them and they are 100% correct. Forms like kasmin chita with a dot or doshans tyaktva with a dot are actually more seen. Vidwan Tritiyaha. So Vidwan is a pada, Prathama Ekvachanam. Vidwan Tritiyaha, Vidwan Strutiyaha, or Vidwan Strutiyaha. So these are examples. You will be able to find many more examples. This is actually a well-known sandhi. It's just that the prakriya is a little bit complex. And then one final bit, aprashan, nash-chavi aprashan. So aprashan iti kimartham? Prashan iti pratipadikam asti, shantaha iti tasya arthaha. Prashan iti pratipadikam, asya pratipadikasya, sorry, prashan iti pratipadikam, tasya prathama ekvachanam e prashan eva, because you have nakarantasya padasya. So prashan iti pratipadikam, tasya prathama ekvachanam e prashan eva, asya vishaye idam rutvam na pravartate. So prashan plus tanoti, prashantanoti, normal varnamelanam happens. Prashan plus chinoti. Now no rutva related changes are going to happen, but there is a nakara and then there is a chakara. So normal shutva will happen. Prashan chinoti. Prashanti kate. Normal shtutva will happen. Prashanti kate. So only one word prashana ityasya krute idam sutram na pravartate. दलकृत्यं पश्यामः छवि इति किमर्थं सो नः इत्युक्ते पदान्त नकारस्य you can also write another step naha iti kimartham and then show padanta makara like tam and so on tatra na pravartate, but that's trivial. I have only written some non trivial bits. So chavi iti kimartham kevalam chav varnah kimartham avashyakah bhavan plus karoti, ka is not in that. So remember, anytime you are writing Dalakrutya and you are saying Chavi iti kimartham and so on, so you are trying to show the importance of a certain pratyahara or a certain entity. In order to show the importance of that, always choose an entity which is closer to that but not exactly that. So for example, taking a simple example of mathematics, if there is a rule, a theorem that only works for numbers 1 to 100, then in order to show that it is only working from numbers 1 to 100, you choose 101 and show that it doesn't work for 101. Don't choose 500 or 1 million and so on. Choose 101 because then it helps you establish the boundary that it is exactly working from 1 to 100 and not more. In exactly the same way, chavi iti kimartham. So pick a letter which is closer to the chav pratyahara. So kha, pha, cha, tha, tha, cha, ta, tav, ka, pa, ya. Therefore, I have picked a ka. Technically, you can pick any letter. But then because I picked kav pratyaya, it immediately tells us that chavi has to stop at the chav pratyahara. You cannot extend beyond. And similarly, you can find another example at other boundary also so that it doesn't extend in the other direction. So chavi iti kimartham bhavan plus karoti ityatra rutvam na bhavati yato hi atra kakaraha chav pratyahare nasti. Am pratyaye am pare iti kimartham san plus saruhu. So some of you might not know this word. This saruhu means khadga mushtihi. You have a khadgam, a weapon, and the part at the end of that weapon which you actually hold, which is typically made up of wood, that is called saruhu, khadga mushtihi. So ampare iti kimartham san plus saruhu ityatra rutvam maabhut takarat paraha am varnaha nasti. And then finally, you have padanta nakarasya iti kimartham. You also need not any random nakara, but padanta nakara. Padanta nakarasya iti kimartham. Kruntati iti tingantam rupam asti. Krutadhatoho idam rupam. Atra अपदांत नकारः अस्ति. तस्माद् अनन्तरं संहितायां छव वर्णः. तस्माद् अनन्तरम् अम वर्णः. परन्तु अत्र अपदांत नकारस्य ऋत्वं न भवति. This completes the discussion of Bhavan Starati. That's basically the Rutva Prakaranam in Hal Sandhi. Any questions? Okay, no questions. Agre gacchamaha. The next are actually very simple. Shchutva and Stutva. All of you, I am expecting that you already precisely very well you know Stutva and Stutva. You have done multiple examples. I'm assuming done a lot of practice on this. So the focus is not going to be the examples. The focus is going to be only the sutras and all sorts of combinations. Like for example, the chutwam and stutwam operates. It's a unique case, as all of you know. It operates where the nimitta can be purva nimitta or the para nimitta. So it can be either of them. So we will see all possible combinations and see which of them can actually lead to valid examples and which don't. So let's take a quick summary of chutwam. What is the configuration that we are looking? We are looking for a combination of shakara or cha varga and sakara or ta varga. So basically 2 multiplied by 2, 4. So you can have shakara and sakara, you can have shakara and ta varga, you can have chakara and sakara, and you can have chakara and ta varga. And not just that, but the ordering may be flipped. So Shakara Cha Varga might come first or Shakara Cha Varga might come later. So that's again 4 into 2, 8. So 8 possible combinations. And Ta Varga and Cha Varga are themselves 5, 5. So for example, it can be Cha Cha Ja Ja and it can be Ta Tha Da Dha Na, and it's not one-to-one mapping. So basically Chakara can be here and then Dakara can be on the right side. Or say Nakara is on the left and Chakara is on the right. So all possible. So there are basically 6 entities to the left, 6 entities to the right, and then their ordering can be flipped. So many 72 possible combinations exist over there. So in this particular combination, the transformation is on the Sakara and on the Tavargiya letter. So Sakara might be to the left or to the right, but it is Sakara that's transformed. Similarly, Tavargiya Varna might be to the left or to the right. The Tavargiya Varna is transformed. Sakarasya Shakaradesha bhavati. Tavargiya Varnasya Yatha Sankham Cha Vargiya Varnadesha bhavati. Which means Ta becomes Cha, Tha becomes Cha, and so on. So understand, for the Adesha, it is Yatha Sankham. But for the Nimitta, there is no Yatha Sankhya. So we are not saying Shakarad Anantaram Sakara eva bhavet, or we are not saying Cha Vargasya Prathama Varnad Anantaram Ta Vargasya Prathama Varna eva bhavet. That combination can be absolutely random. So you can have Ya, which is basically the Cha Vargasya letter, plus you can have you can have ta, which is the ta vargasya prathamam letter, so last letter followed by first letter. All such combinations are allowed by the sutram or allowed by the fundamental condition of that particular sutram. So simple example, manas plus shuddhi. There is a sa to the left and sh to the right, so manash shuddhi, sa becomes sh, manas shuddhi. Marud chalati. There is the to the left and there is a ch to the right. So it is the to the left and ch to the right. The becomes j, that's the chutwam. Maruj chalati. So varga tritiya becomes varga tritiya. Bhavan plus shete. We saw this in the yesterday's class. Bhavan plus shete. Apyatra atra किमपि कोऽपि आगमः अत्र न क्रियते चेदपि नकारस्य शकारादनन्तरं, so you have a न to the left and you have a sh to the right, bhavai shete iti परिवर्तनं भवति. So these are just 3 examples, but there are many examples that we are going to see. Basically, I wanted to demonstrate that the ordering can be either way. You can have shakara cha varga, sakara ta varga, or sakara ta varga, shakara cha varga. Sadly, the 3 examples that I've taken, manas, maruda, and bhavana, are all of this category. I should have chosen a little more variety, because you have sakara to the left, you have dakara to the left, and you have takara to the left. But still, you can find there are less examples of this particular shakara cha varga, sakara ta varga, but you can still find. So, for example, prasha plus na. Such kind of examples do exist, but then there is a nishedha that is told. So I did not quote those examples. We'll see some specific examples a little bit later. But there is one nishedha specifically told for this particular chutva. Shakarat parasya tavargiya varnasya chutwam na bhavati. So the original rule allows all possible combinations. But what is actually happening, if there is a shakara to the left and if there is a takara to the right, so one possible combination is blacklisted. So shakarat parasya tavargasya chutwam na bhavati. So here is a simple example. Navamaganasya asha iti dhatuh asti. Asha plus na, that is the vikarna pratyaya, plus ti. Ityatra shakaraha asti purva padam. Purva shabdasya ante. There is no condition of padantatva and so on. It is random. Simple letters should be sitting together. So sh iti purva shabdasya ante asti. Agre nakaraha. So that ta vargaha asti. Asha plus na plus ti. Ityatra shutvam na bhavati. Ashnati iti rupam siddhyati. प्रश प्लस न इत्यत्र शुत्वम न भवति, प्रश्न इति अंतिमं रूपं सिद्ध्यति. So this is all about the chutwam. Now we are going to learn the sutras and all possible examples. So the sutra, the chutva and stutva are present all the way towards end of Ashtadhyayi. So in 8440, Ashtadhyayi ends at 8468. So 8468 is the last sutram. Just 20 to 30 sutras before that. So starting from 8440, stohoshtunashtuhu, shtunashtuhu, napadanta toranam, tohoshi, and shata. These 5 sutras are the Chutva and Stutva Prakaranam together. Purely for Anuvrittis, Panini Maharshi has mixed them. So he first talks about the Chutva Prakaranam. That's only one sutram. Then he talks about the Stutva Prakaranam. That's only one sutram. Then he talks about the Nishedha of the Stutva. So the Stutva which is being just told, he will tell the Nishedha of that. So that's the 2 sutras. And then he will go back to Stohoshchunashu and tell the Nishedha of that. So it is Sutra A, Sutra B, then Nishedha of B, and then Nishedha of A. So Shata, that's only one sutram, which is the Nishedha of Stohoshchunashu. Now, because we are studying Chutva first and then Stutva, we will learn Stohoshchunashu, then we will learn Shat. And then we will go to the Stutvam, we will talk about Shtunashtuhu, and then we will talk about the 2 Nishedhas, Napadanta Toranam and Tohoshi. So here we have Stohoshchunashtuhu 8440, Stoho, Sakara Tavargayoho. This is a Dvivachana. So Sakara Tavargayoho. shakara chavargabhyam yoge. So shchu and then tritiya ekvachanam is used, like sadhuna. In the same way, shchuna. So shakara chavargabhyam yoge. See, tritiya is used in the sutram. Tritiya is used for sah. So ramena sah or chet or no chet aham hastena likhami. So tritiya is with help of or in presence of, when associated with. All these meanings are associated with tritiya. So chuna ityukte in association with sh and ch. So he doesn't use panchami, he doesn't use shashti, he uses tritiya. And unlike panchami, shashti, saptami, there is no sutram that gives the meaning of tritiya. So there is no sutra like tasmadityuttarasya tasminiti nirdishte purusya shashti sthani yoga. There is no sutram that gives tritiya. There is also no rule in Sanskrit grammar that tritiya means either to the left or to the right. It is derived from the meaning of the tritiya vibhakti. So aham hastena likhami means your hand is used along with you, it is present over there. No ched aham lekhanya likhami means that lekhani is associated with you. In exactly the same way, shchuna means shchu has to be associated with s and t, which means it should be either to the left or to the right. And shchu iti adeshaha bhavati. So sakarata vargayoho shakarcha vargabhyam yoge shakarcha vargostah samhitayam. Stoho is 6.2, typing mistake 6.2. Shchuna is 3.1. Shchuhu is 1.1. Stoho iti stu ityasya षष्ठी बहुवचन. No, ekavachan. I got confused. Sadhoho, sadhoho. So stoho is actually ekavachan. I first thought it is bahuvachan. It is dvivachan. Stoho is ekavachan. Entire sutram is actually in ekavachan. That makes more sense. So stoho is ekavachan, shchuna is ekavachan, stuhu is ekavachan. Everything is written in ekavachan. So stoho iti stu ityasya shashti ekavachanam sakaraha cha tuhu cha. तुहु इत्युक्ते त थ द ध न. सो अनुदित सवर्णस्य चा प्रत्यय तेन त उदित अस्ति त वर्गीयस्य त वर्गस्य सर्वान् अपि वर्णान् निर्दिशति. सो स्तोः, दैट्स द षष्ठी एकवचनम, लाइक साधोः. सो सकारस्य स्थाने नो चेत् त वर्गीय वर्णस्य स्थाने श्चुना इत्युक्ते श्चु इत्यस्य तृतीय एकवचनम. श्चु इज शकार एंड च वर्ग. सो अनुदित सवर्णस्य चा प्रत्यय इज यूज्ड अगेन. श्चुना इति तृतीया विभक्ति. सह नो चेत् योगे इत्यस्मिन् अर्थे प्रयुज्यते. सो शकारस्य योगे नो चेत् च वर्णस्य योगे. सो शकारः अथवा च वर्गीय वर्णः सकारेण नो चेत् त वर्गीय वर्णेन सह भवेत्. सो दैट योग मीन्स सह. पूर्वम अपि भवितुम् अर्हति, अनन्तरम् अपि भवितुम् अर्हति. श्चुः इति आदेशः शकारः च वर्गीय वर्णः च आदेशरूपेण विधीयते इति अत्र अर्थः. So the effective sutrartha is sakarata vargayoho sthane shakaracha vargabhyam yoge yatha sankyam shakaracha vargaustaha. And look at the wording. The word yatha sankyam is only used for adesha. So where is the yatha sankyatvam? Stoho and shchuhu. There is a yatha sankyatvam. So sa becomes sh, ta becomes ch, tha becomes ch, and so on. So that's the yatha sankyatvam. The yatha sankyatvam is not with the sthani and the nimitta. We are not saying sakarata vargayoho sthane yatha sankyam shakara shavargabhyam yoge. So that's not what we are saying, and this is clarified in many commentaries. So Kashikakara says stoho tatha chuna iti yatha sankyam atra na ishyate. So sakarasya yogaha shakarena sah anumanyate च वर्गीय वर्णेन सह अपि अनुमन्यते. एवमेव त वर्गीय वर्णस्य योगः शकारेण सह अनुमन्यते, च वर्गीय वर्णेन सह अपि अनुमन्यते. आदेशे तु यथा संख्यम इष्यते. सो इफ यू वांट टू मैच स्तोहो एंड श्चुः, दैट्स यथा संख्यम. सो स्तोहो तथा श्चुः इत्येतयोः मध्ये यथा संख्यत्वम् इष्यते. सकारस्य शकारादेशः भवति, त वर्गीय वर्णस्य च वर्गीय वर्णादेशः भवति इति अत्र आशयः. And the apavada, as I mentioned, is 8444. We will talk about it. Ityane shad ityanena vakshate shakarat parasya ta vargiya varnasya shutwam na bhavati. So prasha plus na shakarat parasya ta vargiya varnasya shutwam na bhavati iti apavadah agre vakshate. So now let's take udaharanas. First we are going to have the udaharanas of sakara getting converted to shakara. And then we will have the examples of ta vargiya varna getting converted to cha vargiya varna. So sakarasya shakaradeshaha, 4 combinations. we can have sakara plus shakara, we can have shakara plus sakara, we can have sakara plus chavargiya varna, because sakarasya shakaradesha chavargiya varne pare api bhavati. And then we are going to have chavargiya varna plus sakara. So 4 combinations. Let's take example one by one. Sakaraha plus shakaraha, manas plus shuddhi, manas shuddhi. We have seen this example. चकारः प्लस सकारः अस्य उदाहरणानि न सन्ति यतो हि झल् वर्णे परे शकारस्य षत्वं भवति. So there is a sutram, we have not studied it because it is usually not taught as a part of Hal Sandhi Prakaranam. It is mostly useful in the Subanta Prakaranam. But there is a sutram in 8.2 which converts the shakara to shakara in presence of a jhal letter, and sakara is included in jhal letter. So sh becomes sh, and therefore you cannot have, I mean, because this sutram that jhal varne pare shakarasya satvam bhavati is basically in 8.2, so you cannot get a chance that there will be a shakara and sakara in 8.4. So shakara plus sakara ityasya udaharanani navartante. Then we talk sakara plus cha vargiya varna. So manas plus chittam, sakara plus cha vargiya varna, मनश्चित्तम इति अप्यत्र रूपं संभवति. फाइन इति अपि ने इत्येव अत्र श्चुत्वे कृते रूपं संभवति. And then finally reverse च वर्गीय वर्ण प्लस सकार, and again for च वर्गीय वर्ण उदाहरणानि न सन्ति यतो हि चोः कुः 8.2.30 चोः कुः इति सूत्रेण झल वर्णे परे च वर्गीय वर्णस्य कुत्वं भवति. So as soon as you have something called वाच plus siddhi, technically you have the form of ch plus s, but what is going to happen? Are you going to wait for sakara to become shakara by going to 8.4? No, you are going to convert ch to k by chohokuhu. So vak siddhi. Actually the sandhi doesn't end here. Vak plus siddhi, you have to do jashtvam. Vag siddhi. And then later on you will do chartvam and reverse back that jashtvam, doing vak siddhi iti antimam rupam siddhyati. So you do not get a chance to operate the stohoshchunashchu sutram in the context of cha vargiya varna plus sakara. So out of the 4 possible conditions, only 2 possible conditions, sakara plus shakara and sakara plus cha vargiya varna ityasya udaharanani vartante. And therefore this is a very interesting rule to keep at the back of the mind. श्चुत्वार्थम सकारः पूर्ववर्णः एव स्यात्. सकारः पररूपेण परवर्णरूपेण स्थितः अस्ति चेत्, परवर्णरूपेण स्थितः अस्ति चेत्, in both the cases something or the other will block that shutwam and shutwam na sambhavati. So sakarasya shutwam bhavati chet purvavarnasya eva. This is not a direct sutram, this is a handy rule to remember. Now let's go to the other one. So ta vargiya varnasya cha vargiya varnadeshaha. So ta vargiya varnaha plus shakaraha, surud plus shete, surujj shete. So that's the chutwam that is happening, and then chartwam will happen, pakshika chatwam will happen, and so on. But the getting converted to j, that's the shutwam. Bhavan shete. We have seen this example yesterday for tugagama. भवान् शेते इत्यत्रापि नकारस्य, सो तवर्गीय वर्णः प्लस शकारः, नकारस्य षवर्गस्य पंचवर्ग पंचमादेशः भवान् शेते. In yesterday's class we have seen a few more examples of shutva in context of this. You can go back and refer. Let's reverse. Shakara plus tavargiya varnaha. So shakara comes to the left, tavargiya varna comes to the right. Idam shutvam sakshat nishedhyate. So prasha plus na, sh plus na. We have a sutram called shat that explicitly blocks this shutvam. So idam shutvam pratyaksham nishedhyate. Then you have ta vargiya varna plus cha vargiya varna. All of lots of examples are there. Surud plus jayati. The becomes ja, suruj jayati. Another interesting example which we saw all the way in the beginning of the Ashtadhyayi Prakaranam. Mlecha ityatra dirghat iti sutrena tugagame. I am checking homeworks and so many people are confused with dirghat versus padantadva. 80% of the class has lost the marks in that sa plus chaya, very first question in the homework. You need to understand that when there is a padanta let swara, you have to use padantadva. When there is a padanta swara, you have to use dirghat. So here in this particular case, mlecha dirghat iti tugagame krute, mleta ch तुगागमस्य अग्रे छत्वे कृते, so sorry, stutve कृते. So ta vargiya varna is converted to cha vargiya varna, sorry, ta vargiya varna is converted to cha vargiya varna because of chutwam. So takarasya chakaradesha mlecha iti siddhyati. And finally cha vargiya varna plus ta vargiya varna. So you have now ta vargiya varna to the right and cha vargiya varna to the left. So yaja, it is very few examples are there. Yaja iti dhatuh asti, nang iti kaschana krut pratyayah tasmat dhatoh vidhiyate. So yaja plus nang अत्र जकारस्य उपस्थितौ नकारस्य वर्ग पंचमादेश इत्युक्ते य इति आदेशः भवति. सो यज प्लस य यज्ञ. So very well known word called yajna is derived by yaja dhatu. Yaja is to perform yajna. So yaja dhatu and adding a nang pratyaya to yaja dhatu, you get yajna. So these are all possible permutation combinations. I have listed one examples. If you go to website, many more examples are there. So if you go to stoho shtunaj chuhu, you can see bunch of examples. Sa plus sh plus sa. For ch, ch, j, j, I have given individual examples. Sa plus ch, sa plus ch, sa plus j, sa plus j. So all sorts of possible examples. In the complex cases, even the prakriya is given. So th plus ch, d plus ch, th plus ch. Every possible permutation and combination you can see over here. So this is yajna and so on. These are the examples. Yajna is shown over here. So all possible examples, and the reason, and in cases where the examples are not available, even the reasoning is given over there. Important point to remember, asiddhatvam. This sutram occurs all the way at the end of Ashtadhyayi. So anytime you randomly see a padanta, not padanta, anytime you randomly see a ta varga and cha varga together, don't just jump for stutwam. Hundreds of things have to be done first. Stutwam is asiddha towards many such things. So for example, padanta nakara lopam prati stutwam asiddham asti. All the way at the beginning, nalopa pratipadikantasya. So atman plus chitra, don't jump to the stutwam immediately. आत्मन प्लस चित्र पदांत नकारस्य लोपे कृते आत्मचित्र इति भवति. पदांत कुत्वम प्रतिष्ठुत्वम असिद्धमस्ति असिद्धमस्ति. So watch plus devata, don't do chtutvam because there is a ch followed by a d. Ch becomes k, choho kuhiत्यनेन कुत्वम भवति. पदांत जष्त्वम प्रति 8239 झलांजशोन्ते. So जष्त्वम प्रतिष्ठुत्वम असिद्धमस्ति. मरुत् प्लस जयति इत्यत्र मरुद् जयति, जष्त्वम भवति. अग्रे ष्टुत्वं भवितुम् अर्हति. सो ततः अग्रे ष्टुत्वं भवितुम् अर्हति, परन्तु आदौ जष्ट्वं भवति. अनुस्वारादेशं प्रति ष्टुत्वम् असिद्धमस्ति. सो वन च, देयर इज अ नकार फॉलोड बाय अ चकार ओवर देयर. परन्तु नश्चापदान्तस्य झलि इत्यनेन आदौ अनुस्वारादेशः करणीयः. So नश्चापदान्तस्य झलि is 8324 which comes before 8440. So अनुस्वारादेशं प्रति ष्टुत्वम् असिद्धमस्ति. Even Rutvam that we studied half an hour ago, Rutvam Pratishchutvam Asiddhamasti. Rutvam is 831 or 831 to 8312. So Rutvam Pratishchutvam Asiddhamasti. Bhavan Chinoti. Just don't see na and cha and do the Shtutvam over there. Bhavan Chinoti ityatra nakarasya Shtutvena yakaradesha na sambhavati. Nakarasya Nashchavya Prashanityanena Rutvameva Karniyam Bhamaru Chinoti. All the way towards the end you can have Bhavansh Chinoti. So then when sa appears after that, shtutvam can be done, but not at this stage. So asiddhatva has to be always kept in mind. The next sutram, the shat is the nishedha. So shat is panchami ekvachan, shakarat parasya. How is the anuvritti coming up? You have toho shi. So toho is the anuvritti that comes over there. And from na padanta toranam, na is the anuvritti that comes over there. So na is the nishedha and toho is the sthani. So shat ityukte shakarat parasya. Toho ityukte tavargiya varnasya. Shutwam. So shuhu also comes as an anuvritti. Shutwam na ityukte na bhavati. So all these are anuvrittis. Stoho tavargasya, shat shakarat parasya, संहितायां ष्टुत्वं न भवति। तवर्गीयवर्णस्य शकारात् परस्य तवर्गीयवर्णस्य ष्टुत्वं न भवति। स्तोः ष्टुनः ष्टु इत्यस्य निषेधः प्रश प्लस न प्रश्न इति सिद्ध्यति. Interesting thing is this yadnya and prashna are same sutram. So look at this yajayacha yatavichha pracharaksho nang is the same sutram. Nang pratyaya is added to the yaja here. Nang pratyaya is added to the yaja dhatu. There you will see the chutwam and you will get yadnya. But the same nam pratyaya is added to the pracha dhatu. Prasha. So cha becomes sha, separate sutram, plus prasha plus na. There you will not see the chutwam because it is blocked by shat and you will get prashna. So I think it's written somewhere over here. I might have given the prakriya for prashna. It's just written prasha plus na. Prashna ityatra stutwam na bhavati. It may be there in 8444. I would have given the prakriya. Look at this. Pracha plus nang. So same sutram yajaya cheta vichya pracharaksho nang pratyaya bhavati. So that cha. Then your original dhatu is pracha. Then che chaiti tugagama. See how many sutras you know now. Che chaiti tugagama. So pra ta cha. Then you have an unknown sutram called chuo shudanunasikecha. And then you have shunashuhu. So you have prasha plus na. Shunashu iti stutve prapte. Shat iti nishedha. So prashna ityatra ayam nishedha pravartate. Now in this particular case only nakarasya udaharanam sambhavati. So atra kevalam nakarasya udaharanam datum shakyate. Shakarat para anyata vargya varna asti chet shakarasya anyena sutrena shatvam bhavati. So prasha plus na ityeva vaktum shakyate. Prasha plus ta tha da dha इति अन्यः वर्णः अस्ति चेत् शकारस्य श इति आदेशः भवति. अतः तस्य अत्र उदाहरणानि न सम्भवन्ति. So I think that completes the discussion on Chutwa. Any questions on Chutwa you can ask right now. Otherwise, we'll move to Stutwa. Stutwa is almost identical. So nothing new. It's just instead of ch and sh, you're going to have t and sh. That's all. So shakaraha ta vargaha plus takaraha sakaraha ta vargaha. You can flip flop whatever. Atra ta vargiya varnasya yatha sankhyam ta vargiya varnaha sakarasya yatha sankhyam shakaraha. So that's stutwam. So manas plus shashthaha, sa becomes sh, manas shashthaha. Surud plus dayase, da becomes da, surud dayase. ईड इति धातुः तस्य लट् लकारस्य आत्मनेपदे लट् लकारस्य प्रथमपुरुषस्य एकवचनम् ईड प्लस te ite ante. So ed plus te, ta becomes ta because there is a da over there. So that's a very beautiful example of shtutva. So ed plus te and so on. And as I mentioned, two nishedhas of shtutva, shutvasya nishedhadvayam, padanta ta vargiya varnat parasya varnasya shtutvam na bhavati. So na padanta toho, na padanta toho. पदांत ट वर्गात परस्य सकारत वर्गयोः. So any varna पदांत ट वर्गात परस्य वर्णस्य ष्टुत्वं न भवति. So षड plus सन्तः, there is a padant t varga. You don't need to see what is after that. padant t vargah अस्ति चेत् ष्टुत्वं न भवति. सुगण plus तरति. पदांत ट वर्गः अस्ति. सुगण is the प्रथमा एकवचनम. So पदांत ट वर्गः अस्ति तत्र ष्टुत्वं न भवति. So that is the first nishedha. The second nishedha is ta vargiya varnasya shakare pare stutvam na bhavati. So first was padanta ta plus anything. The second is ta vargiya varnasya. So two basically ta tha da dha na followed by sh. So ta vargiya varna. So that's ta vargiya varna followed by sh. This is your second nishedha. And the first nishedha is padanta ta varga. Not all. अपदान्तस्य उदाहरणानि सन्ति. पदान्त ट वर्ग तस्मात् परस्य सकारः भवति त वर्गः भवति तत्र ष्टुत्वं न भवति. So that was your first nishedha. And पदान्त त वर्गस्य शकारे परे ष्टुत्वं न भवति. So that's your second example. मरुद प्लस षष्ठः पदान्त त वर्गीय वर्णस्य shakare pare ष्टुत्वं न भवति. So we directly do the chartvam. Chartvam comes later 8455. So पदान्त ट वर्गीय वर्णस्य शकारे परे ष्टुत्वं न कृतं. मरुत् प्लस षष्ठः San plus shashtha is again na is there, sh is there, stutwam na bhavati, san shashtha. So sutram shtuna shtuhu. So exactly stoho shtuna shtuhu. Stoho comes as an anuvritti. Shtuna shtuhu. Sakaratvargayoho shakaratvargabhyam yoge shakaratvargaustah samhitayam. So you don't need any further discussion on this. The apavadas are na padanta toranam and toho shi. So everything is copied from the previous sutram. Let's take examples of one by one. So let's take examples of sakarasya shakaradesha. So four cases: sa plus sh, sh plus sa plus ta vargiya varna, and ta vargiya varna plus sa. So four cases. Sa plus sh, you have manashashtha. Shakaraha plus sakaraha, asya udaharanani na santi, yatohi अन्य सूत्राभ्याम शकारस्य sakare pare डकारादेशः तकारादेशः वा विधीयते. So dakaradesha I have already taught. There is the jashtva. So if there is a padanta chakara, jhalanja shonte, padanta chakara asti chet, padanta shakara asti chet, tasya jashtve dakaradesha bhavati. If there is apadanta shakara, then there is a sutram called shadhokasi, which converts the shakara to kakara. So padanta or apadanta shakara is converted to something else and you do not get the examples of stutva. The third is sakara plus ta vargiya varna. So sa plus ta vargiya varna. Ramaha tikate. You actually start with Ramaha. Then you convert visargasya sakaraha. So visargasya sakaradeshe Ramas plus tikate. Ramash tikate. Ramaha ठकारiyati. ठकार इव ध्वनिम करोति. ठकारiyati. Or ठकारः इव आचरति. Whatever that means. ठकारiyati. So Ramaha visargasya sakaradeshe Ramas ठकारiyati. Shtutve krute Ramash ठकारiyati. And finally tavargiya varnaha plus sakaraha. Now for ta vargiya varna न पदांता टोरनाम. So पदांत टकारस्य विषये साक्षात् निषेधा उक्ता अस्ति. So षड प्लस सन्ति पदांत टकारः अस्ति. अत्र साक्षात् निषेधा उक्ता अस्ति. अपदांत ट वर्गीय वर्णस्य परस्य सकारस्य उदाहरणानि न वर्तन्ते. So this is a unique case where no other adeshas are there, no nishedhas are there. You just don't see prayogas in the language. Now if there is some remote prayoga somewhere, if it is there, it will be somewhere in the Tingantas. But if there is some remote prayoga somewhere, I might have missed finding it out. But in general, apargada padanta ta vargiya varnasya parasya sakarasya udaharanani na santi. Now let's come to ta vargiya varna. So again you have four cases. Ta vargiya varna plus shakara, shakara plus ta vargiya varna plus ta vargiya varna, and ta vargiya varna plus ta vargiya varna. So ta vargiya plus shakara ityatra toho shri ityane sakshat stutvam nishidyate. So suhrut plus shashtat atra dakarasya stutvam na bhavati. Shakaraha plus ta vargiya varna. So dusha iti dhatuhu kta iti pratyayah. Dusha plus kta, ta ityasya takaradeshe दुष्ट इति रूपं सिद्ध्यति. त वर्गीय वर्णः प्लस ट वर्गीय वर्णः सुहृड्डयसे इत्यत्र दकारस्य डकारादेशः भवति. एंड ट वर्गीय वर्णः प्लस त वर्गीय वर्णः ट पदान्तात् न पदान्तात् टोरणाम् इत्यनेन पदान्त ट वर्गीयस्य ष्टुत्वम् अत्र निषिध्यते. अपदान्त वर्गीय वर्णस्य तिङन्तेषु उदाहरणानि सन्ति. सो इड इज अ धातु plus te. I gave this example a few slides ago. Lat lakare prathama purushe ekvachanam ida plus te itte iti rupam sambhavati. And as far as the asiddhatva discussion is concerned, the shtutva and shchutva are together. So shchutva sadrisham eva shtutvam api padant nakara lopam prati kutvam prati jashtvam prati anuswaradesham prati rutvam prati sarvatra asiddham asti. So you have to do all these other things first and then only you come to 8441 for doing shtutva. So that completes the discussion of shtuna shtuhu. Let's talk about the padanta toranam. This is the only sutram that will require a little bit of discussion. There is a new aspect that is being discussed over here. So pay attention. Na padanta toranam. Na padantat toho. Padanta ta vargiya varnas varnat parasya kasyapi varnasya ityukte sakarasya ta vargiya varnasya va shtutvam na bhavati And then there is one Nishedha, like that Nashtavya Prashan. There was one Nishedha. Here also there is one Nishedha, anama. I will talk about that in a minute. So, other than that, the anuvrittis and so on you can read on your own. Padantat toho ityukte padante vidyamanaat takarat parasya savarga sakarasya tavargiya varnasya cha stutwam na bhavati. So, पदांत ट वर्गीय वर्णात् परस्य सकारस्य त वर्गीय वर्णस्य ष्टुत्वं न भवति अनाम नाम is the षष्ठी बहुवचन प्रत्यय like मुनीनाम सीतानाम देवानाम that नाम प्रत्यय has a nakara तस्य कृते अयं निषेधः नास्ति. We will see what it means. Let's keep this at the back of the mind. Before you actually look at this particular anam case, let's enumerate some examples. Obviously, I have given all the examples earlier, but let's enumerate the examples of nishedha specifically. So, shad plus samti ityatra padanta dakarat parasya sakarasya. So, na padantat toho. So, padanta dakarat parasya sakarasya shtutvam na bhavati. Sugan sundaraha इत्यत्र पदांत णकारात् परस्य सकारस्य ष्टुत्वं न भवति. सुगण धावति पदांत णकारात् परस्य त वर्गीय वर्णस्य षड् धावन्ति पदांत डकारात् परस्य त वर्गीय वर्णस्य. इवन षड् प्लस नयन्ति पदांत डकारात् परस्य त वर्गीय वर्णस्य ष्टुत्वं कुत्रापि न भवति. So there might be other sutras that come in the picture. So for example, in Shadnayanti, atra stutvam na bhavati, tatra stutvat anantaram yaronunasike nunasiko va iti sutram asti. So we have studied it earlier, but yaronunasike nunasiko va comes immediately after the stutvam is done. Here, after shata stutvam and stutvam is done, you have yaronunasike nunasiko va. So because there is no stutvam, yaronunasike nunasiko ittenena dakarasya vikalpena parasavarnaha bhavati. So shana nayanti or shadanayanti. So instead of changing the nakara, you end up in changing the dakara. Had there been stutva, nakara would have changed. But now there is no stutva, it is explicitly blocked because of napadanta toranam. So you move on and you come across yaronunasike nunasikova, and that yaronunasike nunasikova flips the equation and makes a change on dakara instead, giving shananayanti, or that's optional. So shadnayanti. So these are all valid examples. And now let's talk about this last part, which is the most important bit. Sutre anam iti adeshaha uktah asti. Nam iti shashthi bahuvachanasya kaschana pratyayah. So नाम इति षष्ठी बहुवचनस्य प्रत्ययः अस्य प्रत्ययस्य नकारः यः अस्ति सः पदान्तटकारादनन्तरं विद्यते चेत् तस्य ष्टुत्वं भवति. So पदान्तटकारस्य संदर्भेण ष्टुत्वं निषिद्धमस्ति. Only one case where that निषेध is being negated. निषेधस्य प्रतिषेधः अतः ष्टुत्वं प्रवर्तते. So let's take one example, very well known word, the Shannam, the Shashti Bahuvachan of the Shad, the six. Shat ityasya Shashti Bahuvachanam, Shannam. Look at how that particular word is derived. Shasha iti pratipadikam asti. Shasha iti pratipadikasya Shashti Bahuvachanasya prakriyayam you have Shasha plus Nam. So in the Shashti Bahuvachanam, you get an initial configuration of Shasha plus Nama. Shasha plus Nama iti sthite. Shasha is a pratipadika. It is not a pada. Shasha plus Nama, the full thing is a pada. However, there is a separate sutram. We have not studied it. We will study it in the Subanta Prakaranam when these kind of prakriya, shashti, bahuvachana and so on, we have to study in details. At that point in time, we'll explain that sutram, but there is some sutram because of which shasha ityasya pada samnya bhavati. So this is not a subanta, this is not a tiganta. The pada samnya is not by suptigantam padam. Yet another sutra operates and it specifically gives the pada samnya over here. So shasha ityasya kathanchit pada samnya bhavati. कथंचित पद संज्ञा भवति. पद संज्ञायां सत्यां 8 to 13. As soon as you have shasha plus nam, a pada is generated. Padante vidyamanasya shakarasya immediately jashtvam bhavati. So padanta shakarasya jashtve krute dakara adesha vidhiyate. So you have a configuration of shada plus nam. Shada plus nam iti sthite न पदांता टोरनाम. सो पदांत डकारस्य पदांत डकार इत्युक्ते पदांत ट वर्गीय वर्णात् परस्य त वर्णस्य ष्टुत्वं न भवति इति निषेधे प्राप्ते अनाम इति सः निषिध्यते. सो पदांत डकारात् परस्य नकारस्य ष्टुत्वम् अवश्यं भवति यतो हि अयं नकारः नाम प्रत्ययस्य नकारः अस्ति. एतादृशे ष्टुत्वे कृते नकारस्य स्थाने णकारः विधीयते. So you have shad plus nama. You start with the shasha plus nama. You somehow give the padasamnya to shasha. Shasha becomes shada because of jashtva. Shada causes nama to become nama. Shada plus nama. It is sthite. Now you have your onunasike nunasiko va. इत्यनेन डकारस्य विकल्पेन परसवर्णादेशः प्राप्नोति. That sutra is vaikalpika. So technically you have shada plus nama. Da will optionally get converted to na, giving two possible forms, shannam and shadnam. So yaronunasike nunasiko va ityanena dakarasya vikalpena parasavarnadeshe prapte. There is a vartika that comes in the picture. We have not learned it because it is not usually needed in the sandhi prakarnas. The siddhanta kaumudi and laghu siddhanta kaumudi do teach it in the sandhi prakarnas, but it is mainly used in the subanta prakarnas. So the vartika says etadrishe vikalpena parasavarnadeshe prapte pratyaye bhashayam nityam. So if there is a pratyaya in front, not any random word, but if there is a pratyaya in front, then this is compulsory. So in other cases it is optional. So for example, shad plus nayanti, it was optional because nayanti is not a pratyay. But when there is a pratyaya in front, प्रत्यये भाषायाम इत्युक्ते वेदेषु नास्ति, केवलं लौकिक संस्कृतेषु संस्कृते अस्ति, नित्यं भवति इति वार्तिकेन अयं परसवर्णादेशः नित्यं भवति. सो षड प्लस नाम इत्यत्र डकारस्य नित्यम्णत्वे कृते षण्णाम इति अंतिमं रूपं सिद्ध्यति. सो षड प्लस नाम षण्णाम इति अंतिमं रूपं सिद्ध्यति. So this is the entire prakriya of षण्णाम. And it is important to understand many students have done the mistake. A lot of even advanced students have, I've seen them doing such a mistake. What is the nishedha in this sutram? Anama iti shabdaha shashti bahuvachanasya nama pratyasya nishedham karoti. It is not the nama as in bhavataha nama kim. It is not the word called nama. It is the षष्ठी बहुवचनस्य प्रत्ययः called नाम. अतः नाम इति शब्दस्य विषये तु ष्टुत्व निषेधः अवश्यमेव प्रवर्तते. So if you have shad plus namani, in shad plus namani you are not going to get the nakara getting converted to nakara. You will have shad namani or shan namani, simple parasavarna, and even that optional will happen. Any questions on this particular point? If not, then there is a vartikam that is associated with this particular sutram. It says anam navati nagarinam iti vachyam. So whatever anam as the nishedha of the nishedha has been told. So see the chronology. Initially stutwam, that is being blocked by na padanta toho, and the nishedha is being blocked by anam. So निषेधस्य निषेधं कृत्वा ष्टुत्वस्य विधानम् अनाम इत्यनेन नाम इति शब्दस्य प्रत्ययस्य कृते यत् कृतमस्ति तादृशम् एव विधानं नवति. नवति means 90 and nagari means a city. नवति तथा नगरी इति द्वयोः शब्दयोः विषये अपि तादृशमेव वक्तव्यम्. सो अनाम नवति नगरीणाम इति वाच्यम. सूत्रे नाम इत्यस्य विषये यथा ष्टुत्व निषेधस्य प्रतिषेधः उक्तः अस्ति। तथैव नवति तथा नगरी इति प्रातिपदिकानां विषये, मीन्स ऑल देयर फॉर्म्स, it can be subanta forms, it can be tadhita forms also. Anytime you have any kind of forms of the word navati and nagari, it should start with navati or nagari. एतेषां प्रातिपदिकानां एतेषां सुबन्तरूपाणां तद्धितरूपाणां विषये अपि ष्टुत्व निषेधस्य प्रतिषेधः ज्ञेयः। सो पदान्त ट वर्गीयादनन्तरं नवति इति शब्दः अस्ति, नो चेत् नगरी इति शब्दः अस्ति इत्यस्य प्रातिपदिकस्य रूपं विद्यते चेत् तयोः नकारस्य अवश्यमेव ष्टुत्वं भवति। लाइक षड प्लस नाम तत्र यथा ष्टुत्वं जातं तथैव नवति नगरी इत्येतयोः विषये अपि भवति। सो 96 शश प्लस नवति ही फर्स्ट जष्ट्वे कृते, बिकॉज देयर इज अ पदांत शकार, जष्ट्वे कृते षड प्लस नवति ही, ष्टुत्वे कृते षड प्लस णवति ही. So in general, like षड नयति and so on, you will not do the ष्टुत्व. But अत्र अनाम नवति नगरीणाम इति वाच्यम, so ष्टुत्वे कृते षड प्लस नवति ही. And now पाक्षिके परसवर्णे षडणवति or षण्णवति. षण्णवति is the only popular form, I think, but षडणवति is also grammatically correct. Understand that the parasavarna is optional over here. The only place where the parasavarna is compulsory is pratyaye bhashayam nityam. Naam was the pratyaya, but navati is not the pratyaya. Nagari is also not the pratyaya. So in those cases, you cannot use pratyaye bhashayam nityam. पाक्षिकः एव परसवर्णः क्रियते, षडणवतिः और षण्णवतिः इति रूपद्वयं सिद्ध्यति. In the same way, षड नगर्यः, 6 towns, षड नगर्यः इत्यत्र ष्टुत्वे कृते षडनगर्यः, षडनगर्यः, षण्णगर्यः इति अत्र रूपं सिद्ध्यति. And one thing you have to remember, I have explained it multiple times, but still remember this, that na padanta toranam iti sutrena padanta tavargiyat pareva shtutvam nishiddham asti. So these are all examples of padanta letters. अपदांत ट वर्गीय वर्णात् त वर्गे वर्णे परे तु ष्टुत्वं भवति एव. सो ईड प्लस ते इत्यत्र ईड प्लस ते इट्टे इति रूपं सिद्ध्यति. रेश्मा जी.
Namaste, Mohoday. My question was like the Shashti Bahuvachan Pratyay is actually am, isn't it?
Correct.
But then in the sutra it is written as Nam. So,
Correct. So basically, Nam is, there is a nut agama that happens, and the final form is Nam, which is taken as Shashti Bhavachana Pratyay because of the Sthanivat Bhava. So for the Nam Pratyaya, where the nut agama is already done, that Pratyay is being referenced in the sutra. And you see that in many cases. So for example, Panchanam, Saptanam, Shashinam, Ramanam. So in many cases, you see the nut agama. So that particular Pratyay is along with the nut agama. Yes. Any more questions? Any other questions? So that completes the discussion of Napadanta Toranam. Vidya Bhagini.
षड् नगराणि अस्ति चेत् तत्र नगरी इत्येव भवति वा?
नगरी इति आनुपूर्वी एव भवेत्. So दीर्घ इकारान्त शब्दः एव स्यात्. नगर इति शब्दः नानुमन्यते. Similarly, नवति इति अस्ति, नवनवति इति नानुमन्यते, नवति एव भवेत्, नवदश इति नानुमन्यते. Exact words has to be there, either navati or nagari. Tesham sugandha rupani bhavitum arhanti, tesham tadhitanta rupani api bhavitum arhanti. So if there is a tadhita pratyay that can be added to nagari, that's also possible, but otherwise. So I think one sutram is remaining, but that's very easy. So we are done with stoho shtunashtuhu. We are done with shat shtunashtuhu, napadanta toranam, and finally only one last nishedha. Shat iti asti. So sorry, the last nishedha toho shi. Right, this one. Toho shi. So ta vargasya shakare pare naiva shtutvam. So again, all anuvrittis and so on, very simple. Toho shihi. तोहो इत्युक्ते त वर्गीय वर्णस्य, श्री शकारे परे सप्तमी इज देयर, ष्टुत्वं न भवति. सो सुहृद प्लस षष्ठः इत्यत्र त वर्गीय वर्णः अस्ति, दकारस्य ष्टुत्वं न भवति. सन प्लस षष्ठः इत्यत्रापि नकारस्य ष्टुत्वं न भवति. So I have already explained all these cases. That completes the discussion for today. We did three very important concepts: Naschavya Prashana, that's the Rutvam; Stohoshtunashtuhu and Shat, that's the Chutwam; Shtunashtuhu Napadanta Toranam and Tohoshi, that's the Shtutwam. So here is the homework. संहितायाः विवक्षायां प्रक्रियाः दर्शयत. यत्र सूत्राणि पाठितानि न सन्ति तत्र केवलं कार्यम् एव लेखनीयम्. सो कामान् प्लस तु, यद प्लस श्रेयः, कान् प्लस चन, शश प्लस नाम, आश्चर्यवत् प्लस च. एकवाक्येन वाक्यद्वयेन वा उत्तरत. सो सम क्वेश्चन: नश्छव्य प्रशान इति सूत्रे छवि इति किमर्थमस्ति? सो दैट्स योर दलकृत्यम्. और अत्र अनुनासिक पूर्वस्य तु वा इत्यस्मिन् सूत्रे अत्र इत्युक्ते कुत्र? सकारः प्लस छकारः इत्यस्य एकम् उदाहरणं लिखत. So simple questions. Don't directly look at the website and copy the examples. Try to think examples on your own. Look at this last question. Stohoshtunashtuhu iti sutram अष्टमाध्यायस्य द्वितीय पादस्य अन्ते स्थापयामः चेत् कुत्र दोषः जायेत? So this is also some food for exercise. What will happen if these sutras are moved around? What kind of prakriyas will create problems? So think about it. And ekavakyena vakyadvayena, don't write essays. Maximum through 2-3 lines. Don't go beyond that. As concise as possible. Only write what is asked. So this is the course website. So that's it. Samapayamaha. So we completed Hal Sandho Rutva Chutva Shtutwani. We have 2 more classes for Hal Sandhi. In the next class, we will talk about lots of simple karyas. So Dvitva, Jashtva, Chartva, Parasavarnaha. So see, I am going in the sequence. So I have, initially we have Choho, Kuhu, Jhalan, Jashonte. So Padante, Hal Sandho, Adesha, 8-2 and so on. The only place I jumped the sequence was using this Anuswarasya, Parasavarna, Vapadantasya and Yaronunasike, Nunasiko, because they were directly related to the sutras that we discussed earlier. After that, we talked about Padante, Hal Sandhav, Agamaha. So all sutras in sequence, 8-3, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Then I talked about the Rutva, which is at the beginning of 8-3. So Rutva should be done first and then Gnoho, Tukuk, Tukshari and so on. So the Rutvam followed by Stohoshtunashtu, so 8, 4, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. And now we are going in sequence. So 46, 47, then 48 is already done here. Nunasike, Nunasiko, I think here. 45, 48 are all done. So 47, 49, 53, 55, 56, 60. So that particular section is Dvitva, Jashtva, Chartva, Parasavarnaha. And then you have 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, all the way towards the end. Not 66, sorry, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. So these 5 are Purva Savarna and Chatva and Lopaha. So we will go over all these sutras in the next week and we will finish Hal Sandhi Prakaranam in the next week. After that, we are going to spend 1 class on the Rutva. I want to flip the order actually. I want to teach Rutva first and then I want to teach Visargadesha. So we will have Rutva in 1 class, we will have Visargadesha in other class, and then we will conclude the Ach Sandhi Prakaranam. Sorry, we will conclude the entire Sandhi Prakaranam of our course. Any questions? If not, we will meet next week as usual. Samapayamaha. अष्टाध्यायी जगन्माता यस्य चित्तात् समुत्थिता वेदानामुपकाराय तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः. शब्द ब्रह्म समाराध्य कृतवान्यो विलक्षणं सर्वाश्चर्यमिदं शास्त्रं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः. येन धौता गिरः पुंसां विमलैः शब्दवारिभिः तमश्चाज्ञानजं भिन्नं तस्मै पाणिनिये नमः. धन्यवादः.